All right, good evening and welcome to the November 2021 meeting of the Omaha Public Power District Board of Directors. Thank you all for joining us in person at the Legislative Chamber of the Omaha Douglas Civic Center and remotely via WebEx. I hope you and your loved ones are staying safe and healthy. With me today in the room are my fellow board members, Mike Kavanaugh, Sarah Howard, Janice Molhoff, Craig Moody, Mary Spurgeon, Eric Williams, and Rick Yoder. We also have President and CEO Javier Fernandez, our General Counsel Stephen Bruckner with the Fraser Stryker Law Firm, and members of our board meeting support staff. OPPD's executive leadership team and subject matter experts are participating in today's meeting remotely and in person. Additionally, we currently have 11 attendees on this WebEx, consisting of OPPD employees and members of the public, and one member of the public in the room. As a reminder to board members, executive leadership team, and OPPD staff, please mute your microphones to reduce background noise. To members of the public, thank you for attending. If you joined us via WebEx, you are in listen-only mode. If you have any technology questions, please use the chat feature in WebEx to communicate with the event host. If you are disconnected from the WebEx conference, we ask that you rejoin in the same manner as when you originally joined. For those of you who have joined us in person today, there is an attendee sign-in sheet at the entrance of the Legislative Chamber. The sign-in sheet is for public health contact tracing purposes only. Also, in the interest of public health, in August, the board approved a resolution requiring in-person attendees wear masks at our meetings. We are following the Centers for Disease Control recommendation to wear masks indoors when Douglas County is designated by the CDC as an area of substantial or high transmission of the COVID-19 virus. I will now ask Josh Clark, Manager of Protective Services, to provide the safety briefing for our location, and President Fernandez to provide other safety reminders.
Good evening. Welcome to November's board meeting. As we do always before these meetings, we like to go over some quick safety information, which we've gone over in the past. Before this room, we do have emergency exits at both ends of the room. Both of those lead into stairwells that will lead directly to the outside of the building. In the event of a weather event, which thankfully we don't have to worry about today, but if that was the case, we would go down the stairwells to the parking garage area where the severe shelters are at. In the event of a fire, myself, our other security representatives will assist people going out to the emergency exits and getting to the outside of the building. There's also fire suppression materials as well as first aid materials at both of these exits within the room. As we like to remind people, since we are in a virtual world now, we would also recommend for those of us that are tuning in via the internet that they should also take some safety protocols for themselves at their homes. So it's always a good idea to have a first aid equipment handy as well as fire suppression materials within the home. And then finally, if you are home alone, it's also a good idea to have someone that you trust, a family member, a close friend, know that you're at home so that in the event of an emergency, they could provide some help. Thank you.
And I will do just a couple of safety reminders, both for physical and psychological safety. You have a long list of reminders that we have on the screen. These are reminders that we always share with our employees. This is the list that we used to have of the physical safety reminders, starting with the AED and first aid kit, fire extinguishers, things like the ones that Mr. Clark just mentioned. Very important, if you're at home, make sure that you have that you check regularly your fire extinguishers. You check the what's included in your first aid kit. A lot of times kids get into those and they deplete them, and when you need things, they may not be there when you need them. So good reminder for that. Also would like to take an opportunity to talk about psychological safety and how important that is. And just as physical safety, the psychological safety of our employees is important because it keeps us all safe. It's break the golden rule of don't treat others how you would like to be treated, and treat them by as they'd like to be treated. Very important for us to have these psychological safety at work, because a lot of times what we do could be dangerous if we are not careful, and if we don't have the psychological safety to raise your hand and stop work when conditions are not ideal for safety. Next slide, please. Our current safety focus in the month of November, of course, slips and falls on ice and snow, a little bit different. The weather is starting to turn on us, and as the season change, we're experiencing a little bit more freeze and thaw cycles. This is the time when we sometimes see a spike on falls as we're changing seasons. Falls at home as well, consistently at or near the top of the list of causes for injuries sustained at home. And so for those employees who are working from home and those customer owners who are watching from home, please keep your eye on trip hazards that you may have at home. And of course, as we are starting to turn on our furnaces and fireplaces, fires at home become an important issue to be aware of. Please make sure that you have inspected your equipment, make sure that you have a good setup on your infrastructure at home to avoid fires at home. That concludes my safety briefing.
All right, thank you. Now let's run through our list of guidelines for the conduct of the meeting. This regular board meeting will follow the agenda made available to the public on OPPD.com. This meeting is being conducted in person and via WebEx events and is being recorded. Our board meetings have public comment periods on the agenda. Comments made by all parties during the meeting are a part of the official public record. Following board discussion on each pending matter, I will ask for public comment before bringing the matter to a vote. Also, prior to adjournment of the meeting, you will have an opportunity to comment on any other matters of OPPD business. We will take comments via WebEx and in the room. Let's first review the two options for WebEx attendees to notify us. Option 1, which is being displayed now, involves sending the meeting technology host a message using the chat feature, simply stating that you wish to speak. Ms. Henners?
Thank you, Chair Bogner. For those who have joined us using a computer or WebEx mobile app, you will find a button in your WebEx interface to open the chat panel. Once opened, you may send your message to the meeting technology host. Requests to provide comments will be relayed to Chair Bogner for recognition during the public comments section.
All right, and then option 2, which is being displayed now, involves the hand raise feature. Ms. Henners?
WebEx allows attendees to virtually raise their hand. You may use this feature to indicate to OPPD that you wish to be recognized to provide comments. The hand raise button can be found by opening the participants panel in WebEx and moving your mouse over your name as displayed on this slide. After you have provided your comments, please press the hand raise button again to virtually lower your hand. And for those who have joined the meeting using only a telephone, WebEx has a hand raise feature that is activated by pressing *3 to raise and lower your hand. When we see your hand raised, we will acknowledge you by referencing a portion of your phone number. For example, caller with the phone number beginning in 402-123. If you wish to provide comments when recognized, please wait a brief moment to be unmuted and begin speaking. At this time, if you would like to try using the hand raise feature, please do so as a test.
Okay, I'll allow plenty of time at each opportunity for public comment for members of the public to provide notification via WebEx. When I call on a member of the public to speak, our meeting technology host will unmute your microphone. Before commencing your comments, I suggest you first affirm that we can hear you. Please state your name and address and state the name of any organization or person you are representing. Organizations should choose one representative to speak on their behalf. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per pending matter at the discretion of the board. To assist you, we will display a timer on the WebEx screen to ensure each member of the public receives a consistent amount of time. Ms. Henners will signal you when 30 seconds remain, as well as when time is up. For in-person attendees, if you wish to make a comment, please line up behind the microphone while maintaining at least 6 feet of social distance. We ask that you wear your mask while speaking into the microphone. Please state your name, address, and the name of any organization or person you represent. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending. To assist you, we will use the timer that is in this room. Ms. Henners will signal you when 30 seconds remain, as well as when time is up. Please direct your comments to me. I will either respond to you directly or defer response to another board member or officer of the district. If you have written materials, please email them to Ms. Hinners at mfhinners, that's mfhinners @oppd.com, or hand them to her, and she will receive them on our behalf. In summary, we will take WebEx comments first, then in-room comments, then have a last call. Ms. Hinners, will you please take the roll call?
Wagner,
Here.
Kavanaugh,
Here.
Howard,
Here.
Molhoff,
Here.
Moody,
Here.
Spurgeon,
Here.
Williams,
Here.
Yoder.
Here.
Announcement regarding public notice of meeting. Notice of the time and place of this meeting was publicized by notifying the area news media, by publicizing Seaman Outlet's newsletter, and on OPPD.com, by displaying such notice on the arcade level of Energy Plaza since November 12th, 2021, and by emailing such notice to each of the district's directors on that same date. A copy of the proposed agenda for this meeting has been maintained on a current basis and is readily available for public inspection in the office of the district's corporate secretary. Additionally, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available for inspection on OPPD.com and in this meeting room. The consent agenda items for tonight are as follows. Item 6, approval of the September 2021 Comprehensive Financial and Operating Report, October 2021 meeting minutes, and the November 18th, 2021 agenda. Item 7, SD2 rates revision, resolution number 6471. And item 8, SD11 Economic Development Monitoring Report, resolution number 6472. Need motion a second.
So moved. Second.
All right, we discussed these action items at the all committees meeting on Tuesday, November 16th. So at this time, I would like to ask if any members of the public have any comments on these consent agenda items. If you would like to make a comment, please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand.
David Corbin has his hand raised.
Okay, Mr. Corbin? Mr. Corbin, I think you're on mute, so we'll just wait a second. All right, Mr. Corbin?
Can you hear me now?
We can, thank you.
Okay, sorry. David Corbin, 1002 North 49th Street, representing the Nebraska Sierra Club. I wanted to just weigh in about some of the conversation that took place about SD11 and whether or not economic development is OPPD's job, and if it is, how should that be tied to OPPD's mission? As some of the missions seem to imply, economic development also needs to have part of OPPD's mission about environmental sensitivity. As Omaha and the Metro Omaha area now are beginning to endeavor to have a climate change plan, I would suggest that it would be an excellent idea for OPPD when they do seek in economic development, that in the environment is part of it, just as Facebook and Google have committed to renewable energy. The new LinkedIn building has solar canopies in the parking lot that will provide 13% of the building's power. I know that OPPD has already, that your commercial fleet rebate for EVs and for EVs in general has already been filled for this year. So what I'm suggesting then is, as part of the economic development, that you try to recruit companies that will be devoted to environmental sensitivity and will fit into what the climate change plan will likely be for Omaha. So one example is just recently I found out about in Salt Lake City, companies that provided worksite charging stations, they found that as a result, the employees were much more likely to purchase EVs of their own. So it's these types of incentives that should go with the economic development that will make sure that you're also meeting your mission of environmental sensitivity. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there other requests to chat? Okay. Would anyone in the room like to make a comment? All right, thank you for your comments. Ms. Hendricks, will you please call roll?
Bogner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Mulhoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon. Yes. Williams
Yes.
and Yoder.
Yes.
Motion carried. Agenda item 9, corporate officer performance review and compensation adjustment for Scott Foch, Vice President, Corporate Strategy and Governance, resolution number 6473. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District that the compensation adjustment for the corporate officer, Scott M. Foch, Vice President, Corporate Strategy and Governance, as set forth on Exhibit A attached hereto, be and hereby is approved.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All right, Director Moody?
Thank you, Director Bogner. I'm super excited about talking about this and all. Javier, I'll turn it over to you here in just a second to add anything that I missed, but we are poised to give Mr. Scott Foch an increase in his salary. It's laid out in front of you as a review. The Governance Committee had discussed and brought this recommendation forward to the board. We discussed in closed session on Tuesday and then had a brief public discussion as well. I'll just note a few things. There are three things that really stand out for me when it comes to Scott and his work. The first, as the chair of the Governance Committee, I get the distinct pleasure of working very closely with Scott to map out the work of that committee, which consists of myriad issues that are really kind of many times in the detail and oftentimes not extraordinarily sexy, but he does a wonderful job of keeping not only that committee going in the right direction, but also the board as a whole. So I really enjoy and appreciate his work on that front. Secondly, he led the development of the after action review following the polar vortex, extraordinarily important body of work that was really well received by the community, and that report has been distributed pretty widely and really does a nice job of summarizing what some of the opportunities are for the district in addition to the ways in which we responded to that storm. So I thought that was really important work on his part. And then finally, I'll note that he's led the Powering the Future work as well. I'm super excited to see what that looks like in the coming days, but we know that that's been perhaps cat herding at its best, thinking about, what the future of this utility is and engaging a variety of different stakeholders and trying to coalesce around that. So those three things for me stand out pretty significantly as some exceptional work that Scott is leading. Javier, if you want to hop in and add anything else, I'd welcome your comments.
Thank you, Director Moody. I think you summarized it really well. The only thing that I would say is not only has he done all of that work, but he has done that with grace. Throughout this year of change and working in different places and working from home and changes in leadership, all of these things could be distracting, and they are distracting. And Scott, through his leadership and his grace, he has been able to keep us focused on very important strategic work that needs to happen. So while our minds get attracted to the daily operations of the business, he has helped us to also keep quite a bit of our attention into the future, into the strategic planning and strategic visioning, which I very much appreciate that force within the executive leadership team that has helped us keep our focus also on strategy. Just to talk quickly about the increase and above expectations performance is is recognized here with a 4.5% merit increase for an executive, which is in line with our practices. And then I am also recommending a 1% market adjustment. The market adjustment is really to bring his compensation up to 85% of the midpoint in his salary. And this is similar to what I have recommended recently for other positions in the board, recognizing Mr. Foge's tenure, his expertise, the work that he has been doing with the district. It's one that it helps me recognize the work that he's doing. And it also leaves room for growth within his salary range for him to continue to deliver amazing results in years to come. Happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
All right, does the board have any questions at this time? Feel free to jump in. All right. At this time, I would like to ask if any members of the public have any comments on this action item. If you would like to make a comment, please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. Ms. Henners, do we have any requests to chat? Okay, would anyone in the room like to make a comment? All right, Ms. Henners, will you please call roll?
Bogner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Molhoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon. Yes. Williams,
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Motion carried. Agenda item 10, amendment to OPPD's petition for creation, resolution number 6474. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District that the amendment to the district's charter attached hereto as Exhibit A is hereby approved, and the district's general counsel and management are hereby authorized and directed to present the charter amendment to the Nebraska Power Review Board for review and approval.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All right, Director Moody.
Thank you again, Director Bogner. The fancy name for charter review in this particular case really means redistricting for us. So I walked through in pretty decent detail the sequence of events that led us up to this point on Tuesday. So I won't bore you with that sequence of events again today, but I do want to highlight a couple things. One is I'm really proud of the way in which we approach this. And what I mean by that is that as an elected official, it can be really tempting at this point to start drawing lines that are advantageous to you when it becomes election time. That was not the case here. Our process involved board members only a very little bit. For the most part, what we did is we ensured that the legal team and their subcontractor, the Metropolitan Area Planning Agency, who drew the lines, followed the law. We didn't get involved in moving lines around. It really boiled down to us ensuring that the law was followed. And just to, again, to remind those four key concepts that come from the law. One is these districts need to be compact and contiguous. Second, they need to follow county lines wherever practicable. Third, these need to be substantially equal in population to the number of electors in such other district subdivisions. And finally, they need to follow precinct lines created by the election commissioners or county clerks of the counties in the district service territory. So that's what the law requires. We also felt it important, and this is not unique to us, and I think this is best practice, to try and retain the existing boundaries that we have to the extent possible. All of us are elected. People went to the voting booth and they checked a box and they chose us for the sub-districts that we represent today. And to the extent that we could retain those boundaries to the extent possible, so that we could avoid confusion and continue to represent the people that elected us. Again, I think that's a best practice. As it relates to, yeah, and Ms. Sanders, if you want to pull the map up, that would be great. Thank you. The last thing that I'll say is that as it relates to retaining those boundaries where possible, we were able to ensure that no precincts were broken up. So that was a really important criteria that we asked and was followed and met. But the precincts did shift a little bit, and as those precincts shifted, that meant that lines needed to be moved for our boundaries here and there. And in doing so, that meant that some of our districts did change a little bit here and there as well. But again, with the intent of retaining the boundaries as close to they were back when these were drawn 10 years ago, that also aligns with the spirit of trying to keep districts, or excuse me, keep directors in their sub-districts. Again, it doesn't make sense to me to ignore that, because as an example of Director Howard was elected recently. If we drew her out of her district, all of a sudden we're in a position where the person that represents that sub-district is no longer there. So reasonableness guided our approach on that. Again, just to summarize this from my standpoint, I appreciate the way that you all have engaged in this process. And like I said, I think the way that we've done this is really based on the law as written and best practices for how we do redistricting. I'll stop there.
Director Kavanaugh?
Thank you. I want to thank MAPPA and our legal staff for certainly don't have any qualms with the actual district boundaries. But I will vote for the resolution since we are up against a time deadline. However, I am disappointed that consideration was in fact given personal residence locations of our current directors. I understand the importance of respecting the actions of the voters. However, no director wouldn't be able to complete their current term if they in fact were moved from their existing district. I'm a strong believer in, I don't think anyone should be involved in drawing their own district boundaries. I don't think anyone should be able to vote on approving the district boundaries, but I understand it's the law. And I will vote for this. We're up against the deadline. I just, and I was the one that got the, this action moved, consent action, because I just wanted to get my concern voiced.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Okay, so at this time, I would like to ask if any members of the public have any comments on this action item. If you would like to make a comment, please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. Are there any requests? Okay, would anyone in the room like to make a comment? All right, Ms. Henners?
Wagner,
Yes?
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Mulhoff,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Yoder.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. President Fernandez, would you like to give the president's report?
Certainly, my pleasure. November is upon us, and it's been a busy month. October was a busy month, and I will report on a lot of October data, but also a couple of November events. First, starting with our baseload generation, Nebraska City Unit 1 and 2, both with capacity factors in 61 and 64% respectively, and North Omaha Unit 4 and 5, 67 and 53% respectively. This is an anomaly. We've actually had unplanned outages on all units and derates on units. We also had some planned outages. This is the time of the year when we are getting the units ready for the winter, making sure that we have them in good working condition. However, we did have Nebraska City 1 was removed from service due to a tube leak on October 7th, and that outage lasted 58 hours. Nebraska City Unit 2 on October 11th tripped on drum level due to a feedwater swing. That accounted for about 28 hours of outage. Nebraska City Unit 2 also has had some derates along all month. Unit 4 in North Omaha had a total of 62 hours lost or derated generation due to wet reclaimed coal and a mill that was off. So fuel becomes an issue as well when temperature changes and rain comes. Same with Unit 5, a total of 641 hours of lost or derated generation for the month of October. Feeling good about the units. They are all coming back online, and we are completing the planned outages for the winter months. The next slide shows our peaking generation. Not a lot of activity. We did have some peaking activity in Cass County. As you all experienced, the weather has been a little crazy these past couple of weeks. Very cold and then relatively warm in the 70s. And so those changes in weather conditions affect prices and affect the way our peaking units are called. This is the time when other utilities in the region also take their units down for maintenance and planned outages. So it is not uncommon to see every now and then our peaking units being called. And you can see that here, both Cass County units were called with a capacity factor of 4.1%. Even our North Omaha Unit 3, which is typically not called in this time of the year, it was called to the market with a capacity factor of just under 2%. And we had a couple of Sarpy County units that were on with a total capacity factor for that station of 2.4%. Moving on to the next slide, renewables. The wind has been blowing. Blowing really hard, and you can see that obviously in renewable energy contributed 40.6% of OPPD's retail energy sales for the month of October, with a wind capacity factor of 44.8%. Cumulative capacity factor for, not cumulative, October capacity factor for community solar was 17.7%. So days are getting shorter. Solar capacity factor is coming down, but wind capacity factor increased. Pathways to decarbonization. We held our first session with preliminary results a few weeks ago, and I am proud to announce that we are coming here on December 9th to share final results when we will review the final results from modeling and also the consideration and the feedback we have received on those initial results. The team has been incredibly busy these past few weeks, gathering feedback, talking to other entities and stakeholders, and we will share those final results on December 9th. The work that we have done through these energy portfolio workshops not only are important for the Pathways to Decarbonization strategic initiative, but also they support our integrated resource plan, or IRP, which is due early next year. Next slide, please. On November 2nd, I had the pleasure of attending the Human Resource Association of the Midlands event, where OPPD was awarded the Thrive Ideal Award. You can see on the picture, Director Moody was with us, as were other members of the human capital team. Very proud moment for us because OPPD was among the companies honored. This Ideal Award honors local organizations that demonstrate commitment across 5 dimensions: inclusion, diversity, equity, advocacy, and leadership, and is granted on 3 progressive levels to organizations of different sizes. And we were one of those organizations. It was a great event, good reminder of the work that we have been doing collectively on this area. On November 9th, following a slide, we had the Business Ethics Alliance had their annual event, the Ethics Space Conference. OPPD was recognized as a mission driver at the annual Ethics Space event. You can see Mark Pohl receiving the award on behalf of OPPD. I was not able to receive the award because I was busy. We were doing a sharing lunch with some of our employees at the Omaha Center, thanking them for all the work they did in July. So we're trying to spread across different sites, thanking employees for the work they do, and also being recognized here in the community. I also had the privilege to participate that same day as a panelist in one of the breakout sessions, conversations with a CEO, where our discussions focused on navigating ethical challenges, responsibilities that organizations have to be good stewards in their communities, and how companies can create work environments where people feel valued, respected, appreciated, and heard. It's a great event, and I look forward to continuing participating in the future. The next slide. 2 days later, on November 11th, the AIM Institute awarded Kate Brown, our Vice President of Technology, Property, Security, and Preparedness, as the recipient of the Tech Leader of the Year award because of her contributions to a thriving tech community by promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion in her role. Very proud of the work that Kate has done working with that organization, and the fact that she was recognized was a really nice gesture and testament to her work. And last but not least, it's just been a busy month on recognitions and awards. As you all know, the Omaha by Design had their Laurels Awards event where they awarded the Laurels Award, which is the highest honor that Omaha by Design awards. And it recognizes an individual, organization, or business for significant contributions in furthering people-centered urban design and policy. And, the OPPD Board of Directors was nominated. So congratulations for being recognized for this prestigious honor. You were in great company along with Laura and Michael Alley, as well as David Brown. So great to be recognized there. Next slide, please. We also participated on the Defenders of Freedom parade. We were proud to celebrate our employees, retirees, and all who have served our country. I want to thank all the veterans from all branches of the military and to their family members who also know the meaning of sacrifice. So on Saturday, November 6th, in downtown Bellevue, a group of OPPD employees and their family members walked in the Defenders of Freedom Parade in honor of the Veterans Day holiday. I don't think we don't have a video. Okay, we prepared a video. We've made it available to other employees, so we can move on to the last slide, which is our in memoriam slide. This is one where we are remembering those who we lost, and very interesting, staying in the same theme of our Veterans Day and Defenders of the Freedom Parade. Mr. Argil Harshberger was a lineman who died on September 23rd, 1953, from injuries sustained from a fall while working on a pole near 68th and Mercy Street in Omaha. He was 33 years old at the time and had been with OPPD for 7 years at the time of his death. And this is the interesting piece is that he was a survivor of war. During World War II, while stationed as a cook on board the USS Nevada, Mr. Harshberger was injured when the ship was damaged by enemy gunfire and suffered a direct hit by a kamikaze plane off the coast of Okinawa. He was survived by his wife, Pat, his son Daniel, his twins Bradley and Cindy. And that concludes my president's report.
All right, thank you. At this time, we'll move to the opportunity to comment on other district business. I would like to ask if any members of the public have any comments on other items of district business. Please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. Ms. Henners, is there anyone on WebEx that has requested to chat?
David Corbin.
Mr. Corbin?
Yes, thank you. David Corbin, 1002 North 49th Street, speaking on behalf of the Nebraska Sierra Club. First of all, I appreciate OPPD's efforts in helping people who are in need to keep their electricity connected. I very much appreciated all the work that went behind all those things that you discussed in the committee meetings. Also want to congratulate you on all those recent awards, the ones that were both mentioned in the committee and mentioned here today. And happy to say that OPPD, as you enter your 75th anniversary, that we are the same age. I'm looking forward in the future to that official rollout of the new Green Fund and to hear how people have been using their charge point to find out what you've learned from the data for all those people that have been part of your rebate program and the charge point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corbin. Are there other requests to chat?
John Pollock.
Mr. Pollock?
John Pollock, 1412 North 35th Street, Omaha. This one's mostly about the weather. We are looking at pretty good weather out all the way through to the end of the month. So unlike many years, there are no threats of any substantial storms over Thanksgiving weekend for us or most places that you might travel, although if anybody has plans to go to New England, there could be some action there before Thanksgiving. Slow-moving storm there. Later on, we are still, as I mentioned last month, in a La Nina pattern, cold water in the Eastern Pacific, which is expected to last all winter. For us, unfortunately, it doesn't give a lot of predictability to the winter, which is kind of the normal state of affairs, I would say. But we do have the possibility of a storm at the beginning of December. It's still too early to tell in the models how that would turn out. After that, the overall La Nina pattern is for a stronger storm path across the northern plains and a weaker wind than usual across the southern U.S. That puts us in the middle. We don't really have any storms headed our way right that we can see other than the beginning December one, but we never know about that. Temperature, once again, is intermediate. So unfortunately, not a lot to go on there. Regarding even the polar vortex, such as we had last year, the early indications are kind of contradictory on that one too. So unfortunately, not a lot of basis for a solid forecast right now. Otherwise, well, as David Corbin said, I appreciate all the work that you folks are doing, both in the decarbonization and the various other activities that you were busily engaged in trying to work with people, especially those who need help with their bills still. And I encourage you to keep going with that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pollock. Are there any other requests to chat on WebEx? Okay. All right, go ahead.
David Begley, customer owner, 4611 South 96th Street, Omaha. Question for the chairwoman. I'm familiar with your goal of no or net carbon zero by 2050, and I've also read your pathways to decarbonization reports. And I want to know why the board doesn't have a hard dollar cost estimate to achieve this goal.
That is part of the decarbonization study that's underway right now.
Okay, I saw in the October 27th report that the prediction that the rates will only go up 16% by the year 2050. I would submit to you that is entirely unrealistic in light of what has happened in Germany, who has pursued this net carbon zero prospect or goal for a number of years. And the German rates are 300% higher than the US average. So I would strongly submit to you that it is absolutely essential that this board have a realistic cost estimate as to how much it's going to cost to build all these extra wind turbines and solar panel units. Would you agree with me, Chairwoman Wagner, that this would be a good idea? Please restrict your comment. Thank you, Attorney Bruckner. I appreciate that. I would note that my public comment is if the board pursues this pathway to decarbonization with net carbon zero by 2050, you are going to crucify OPPD ratepayers on a cross of wind turbine blades. This is a very serious matter, and you better really look at what this is going to cost taxpayers, because utility costs are regressive tax. Mr. Fernandez knows that. And this is bad business for OPPD. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other requests for comment? All right. With that, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.